Hello, I am Blaze, and welcome back to Warframe. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the Hystrix, a secondary weapon released with the Beast of the Sanctuary update and a blatant rip-off of the Team Fortress 2 syringe gun. Okay, not really. The blueprint for the Hystrix can be easily acquired for a mere 2,500 credits from the market. However, its build requirements include a pre-constructed Bolto and a Viper, with the Bolto itself requiring a Lato to build, resulting in a minimum build time of 24 hours altogether, and will realistically require 2 days unless you get the Viper and Bolto building at the start of the day, and then pick them up and set the Hystrix build going at the end of the day. Not a huge deal, but I feel it was worth pointing out. The other materials required are pretty easy to get at least: an additional 20,000 credits, 9,750 ferrite, and 15 control modules, along with a mastery rank requirement of 7. What you get out of it is a fully automatic dart launcher that can cycle between each of the 4 basic elemental status effects with the use of the secondary fire button. And some pretty reasonable stats. It has a default fire rate of 7 rounds per second with a magazine size of 16, allowing for just over 2 seconds of continuous fire from a full magazine. It also comes along with an ammo pool of 320 darts, but a relatively slow reload time of 1.7 seconds and a somewhat poor accuracy rating of 14.3. It also has slightly different base damage numbers depending on the currently chosen element. Poison and ice quills are slightly weaker at 36.1 total damage, with fire and electric quills hitting a bit harder with 40 base damage. Though that is the only difference as far as I can tell, as they all share a critical chance of 24%, a critical damage multiplier of 2.2 times, and a status chance of 10%. Respectable critical stats with a base status chance that is a bit behind the curve. Additionally, the Hystrix comes with a single Materite polarity by default, which is definitely a nice bonus. Its main gimmick, as I stated earlier, is being able to swap between different elemental quills that will deliver guaranteed status effects on hit of the chosen type. Poison quills are largely a damage augmentation with damage over time, though its lowered base damage hurts its usefulness somewhat. Ice quills bring a weak but reliable form of crowd control, as a cold status effect slows enemies' movements and fire rate significantly. Fire quills bring stronger but more intermittent crowd control by lighting enemies on fire and causing them to panic, as well as having a much weaker damage over time effect. Electric quills have an even more sporadic crowd control effect, as well as a tiny area of effect damage radius, but honestly the electric quills are pretty damn useless. So personally I'd stick with poison, ice, or fire options depending on how your mood takes you. Maybe they should take the electrical quills and use them to help power the Warframe servers instead, because Lord knows they sometimes need it. Unfortunately, one of its 4 status types being mostly useless isn't the Hystrix's only issue. Its high fire rate, low magazine capacity, and slow reload rate make it a chore to use without using the quick draw mod to drop the reload time to 1.1 seconds. This does improve how it feels substantially in my opinion, but it's a shame that you're losing one of your mod slots to a quality of life issue that ideally shouldn't be there in the first place. Even then, you run into a different issue because at high levels it will run out of ammo. Constantly. If you bring the Carrier Sentinel, this isn't such a big problem, but my personal companion preference is Worm Prime, and having to drop ammo restore pads so frequently got pretty irritating. There are also some serious contradictions in its design in general. It seems to revolve around status effect, but its base status chance is only 10%. Workable, but not really what you want for a status secondary. 15% would be much better, 20% or more would be ideal. It does have a guaranteed status effect for its quill types, but the standard elemental status effects aren't that useful on their own. The combined element status effects, whether they be corrosive, viral, gas, radiation, blast, or magnetic, are all individually more useful and would be preferable to fire, cold, toxin, and electricity. Especially corrosive to help deal with high-level enemy armor. The contradictions also continue with its critical stats. They're quite respectable, which one would assume would encourage careful aim and prioritizing headshots, but that isn't the case for 3 reasons. 1. Projectile weapons in general can have screwy hit detection and not count as headshots, and their trajectories tend to get a bit strange at close ranges as they try to angle themselves to a pretty extreme degree to hit where your reticule is pointing. 2. The Hystrix quills have a noticeably slow velocity, making it difficult to accurately hit moving targets at anything beyond close range. And 3. Its poor accuracy means that, once again, beyond close range the quills will tend to trace an outline around your target, more than actually hitting them even if your aim is true, resulting in wasted shots and compounding its ammo inefficiency. This goes double if you actually aim for the head, because the head is a much smaller target than the center mass. And as I said a moment ago, using it at close range can be a very hit or miss proposition due to being projectile based rather than hit scan. All of this combines into a weapon that has a lot of issues with high level enemies. I can't really recommend bringing it for sorties or for Sanctuary onslaught runs. And yet, in spite of all of my complaints, I still kind of like it anyway. It's fun. Purely subjective, I know, but if you aren't doing any particularly long or high level mission, the Hystrix is enjoyable enough to use, and I appreciate its sound design just as I do with other recent weapons. It has nice little sound bites that go along with the element you just switched to, meaning you don't necessarily need to look at your HUD to figure out what quill you just switched to. And the quills have corresponding trail particle effect colours to its elements as well, which also make it look pretty spectacular. And like most projectile weapons that aren't based on plasma, enemies killed by shots from the Hystrix end up being taken along for a ride, which remains entertaining. And it is certainly entertaining to spray a nearby enemy with rapid fire quills like you're a porcupine from hell. Pick it up if you want to have some fun with it, but I wouldn't use the Hystrix for any kind of serious engagement. Thank you for watching my video on the Hystrix. All comments are appreciated, and I hope to see you around next time. If you enjoyed this video, then please consider giving a click over to some of my other videos which you may also enjoy. And as always, good luck, have fun, and take care.